Today we don't say Tachanun, neither Bashachis or Mincha, and the reason is, as the Gemara says in Maseches Tanis, today on the 15th day of the month of Av, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, Lo hoya yomim tovim li Yisrael k'chamisha ba'ov v'chayom ha'kippurim. There was no greater holiday. There is no greater holiday in the Jewish calendar than the 15th day of the month of Av and the day of Yom Kippur. What did happen on this day? This is the day where the maiden, the young women of Yerushalayim, would go out into the vineyards and they would borrow dresses from each other. They would share their clothing so as not to embarrass anybody who doesn't have enough clothing. And they would go dance in the vineyards and celebrating their eventual marriage and emphasizing that young men should look for virtue, for qualities, rather than for external, frivolous matters. But the question is, what's so special about this day? Yom Kippur, we understand, is a great day. It's a day of forgiveness. It's a day when we reunify fully with God. But what about Tu B'Av? Because the girls were dancing. So the Gemara goes on to list a number of events that happened on that day throughout Jewish history. In the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, we know that it was the result of the Meraglim, the spies that went into Israel and then discouraged the Jewish people from going into Israel. As a result of this, God said that this entire generation will have to stay in the desert, and we ended up wandering in the desert for 40 years. Now, this happened on Tisha B'Av. So every year, those who were the age of 60 on that year, they would dig their own grave, go to sleep in the grave, and the next morning, somebody would come and cover those graves. They would pass away. This was going on for 39 years, and now this is the 40th year, and the last group of people is supposed to pass on. So they dug their grave, they said goodbye to the family, expecting not to wake up in the morning. But they did wake up. And the next thing that happened the next day again. And they were thinking they made a mistake with the date. But till the 15th day of the month, when the moon is in its fullest, you can't make a mistake. It's not the 9th of anymore. So that's when they realized that really on Tisha B'Av they were forgiven already. They were already forgiven, and they are permitted to enter the Eretz Yisrael. So that's why this was a very great celebration. Later on, there was also a story with the concubine of Giva, where the tribe of Binyamin behaved in the most vicious manner against this particular woman. And at that time, a decree was made that nobody should be marrying into the Shevet of Binyamin. But eventually, on the 15th of Av, this decree was rescinded. King Yerovam, who split the kingdom of Israel with its 10 tribes away from the kingdom of Judah, he also created barriers that nobody should be able to go up to Eretz Yisrael. And this was going on for a long time, until eventually Hoshea ben Elah, he took away those barriers and made sure that everybody should be able to go up to Eretz Yisrael. There was also the thing, long after the destruction of the temple, the Romans, for 15 years after the Bar Kokhba revolt, did not allow the people who died in Beitar for them to be buried. And then eventually they were allowed to be buried. Miracle also happened that the bodies were lying there for 15 years, were not decomposed. So these are some of the events that happened on Tu B'Av, on the 15th day of the month of Av. Now what they have unique and what they have in common is all of them emphasizing the love for your fellow Jew. We just coming from Tisha B'Av. The destruction of the temple was due to the lack of Avas Yisrael. So when it comes the 15th day of the month of Av, when the moon is in its fullest, which says this shows a concept of certain perfection, what we perfect in is in love for your fellow Jew. And by doing Avas Yisrael, we will in Mirz Hashem have the rebuilding of the third temple, or the reappearing, I should say, the appearing of the third temple coming down from heaven. And as such, let us all pray together. And please join me in the scream to Hashem, Ad Mosai. We want Mashiach now, that we want to have the Beis HaMikdash, the revelation of Mashiach, with us today. It would be beautiful on the 15th day of the month of Av, that we'd all be unified in the Beis HaMikdash. And I encourage you, my friends, do a mitzvah, do the act, take a coin and put it into a pushka right now, and we'll do it together. And indeed, we will meet up in the Beis HaMikdash.